So with that, we're going to move into our director's report. I'll share for anybody who is joining us for the first time, one function of this task force is, of course, to convene meetings like this, to listen and learn so that our federal government, our state government, tribal, local governments actually can improve the way that we build wildfire resilience. Another function of this task force is actually to do work. And that is to implement this state action plan to build wildfire resilience, 99 specific actions. And so every meeting we hear from Patrick, our executive director, about how that work is going. Because month over month, quarter over quarter, we need to make progress towards achieving these actions.
All right, thank you, Wade. So what I'm going to try to do in just a few minutes is walk you through some of the highlights of the task force in the last year or so. It is the December meeting, and then also give you a little bit of a flavor of what's ahead. Make sure I've got this right. Am I hitting that middle one? All right. All right, thanks. All right, well, as Wade also said, this is NGen. This is our 6th meeting of the year. It's been quite a whirlwind year for us, in part because we were so determined to go around the state to each of the major regions. As you know, hopefully we alternate between meetings out in the regions and meetings in Sacramento. The regional meetings are primarily focused on hearing from regional leaders as to what their major issues are, their major concerns with the agencies, and also to help develop regional toolkits and profiles that help regional collaboratives, regional agencies increase the pace and scale of their work. So we'll certainly continue that in the next year. We may slow down a little bit. We're moving towards a quarterly set of meetings, but in any case, we continue to hope that we'll be able to get out there as well as be here. Obviously, the state and the federal government are facing some budget issues, so there may be some adjustments in how often we meet again, where we're going to meet, but we're determined to continue to work to collaborate among the key agencies around the state, both regionally and in Sacramento. So again, I'm just going to walk you through at least a few of our key accomplishments in the last year with a look ahead. Forrest. We continue to operate and update our dashboard. This is live on our website. You can go through any one of the 99 actions that are in the action plan. Click on that. You can find out who the lead agency is, what the progress is being made, what the key work group is that's working on that, the other issues that they're having. We spent a lot of time on perfecting this, so I hope it's a useful tool for everybody to get a better sense of the tremendous variety of actions that are underway. Everything from prescribed fire to reforestation to landowner assistance to community assistance. There's a lot going on. And so the point of this is to provide transparency to you and to the public on the tremendous range of actions that are happening in the wildfire and forest management and wildland management space. Again, just to hit some of the key goals, we have managed to put together what we're calling joint strategies, and that's to align agency work on things like beneficial fire, on reforestation, on private landowner assistance. We're working hard with the key leaders of the agencies in each of these issue areas to make sure state, federal, local, and tribal agencies are working together. Meanwhile, at the state level, CAL FIRE in particular has spent a huge amount of time developing grant guidelines and very expeditiously getting money out the door. They've spent, just in the last 2 years, invested over $400 million in grants to many of you to get work done on the ground quickly and expeditiously. And of course, the Forest Service has also spent hundreds of millions of dollars, both in their priority areas under their wildfire crisis strategy program and throughout the rest of the region. On the community side, there's been equal, if not greater emphasis, particularly at CAL FIRE, which is working hard on updating its fire severity maps. And also a key program of theirs is to increase the level of inspections. They, as part of the action plan, up their target to 250,000 inspections annually. They've met or exceeded that target this year and are on track to do it next year. I also want to make a special, put special emphasis on prescribed fire. Joe Tyler talked about that. We've had the benefit this last year of some really good weather, and that's allowed CAL FIRE and other agencies to significantly ramp up their efforts on prescribed fire, the Forest Service as well. But it hasn't just been the work on the ground. It's been doing a whole range of policy and procedural actions to actually make prescribed fire easier. When I started 3 years ago, candidly, there was a lot of tension in the prescribed fire arena, a lot of concern about impediments, lack of liability, insurance, air quality folks, and prescribed fire folks not being on the same page. We've really turned that around. We put together a collaborative beneficial fire plan where we got the air quality folks and the prescribed fire folks and other interests together, really tried to see if we could work together on the same page. That strategy has been out, has a very aggressive, but we think achievable target of 400,000 acres of beneficial fire by 2025. With your help, I hope we'll get there. We also have a new dashboard, as you know, to track where all those prescribed fire projects are happening. CAL FIRE has a new online permitting system, which is tremendously streamlined the process that folks need to go through to actually get prescribed fire happening. We've got a liability pilot program, thanks to great work of the administration and the legislature in launching a pilot. And then on the federal side, there's been a number of strategy documents that have been announced recently to try to smooth the way to significantly increase the levels of prescribed fire. As you can see from the next slide, those efforts have paid off. We're still not done with 2023, but according to the latest figures, we've increased collectively the amount of prescribed fire we've done from 84,000 acres last year to over 126,000 this year. A huge increase. And I want to thank everybody here that's been a part of that process. It hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of hurdles that have traditionally been in the way of prescribed fire, but I'm happy to say that we're making great progress in ramping it up. And then also the acreage involved. One of the things that the prescribed fire work group has really been trying to focus on is ramp up the acreages involved in prescribed fire to go big. As you can see there, in 2022, we had very few prescribed fires that were, if any, that were over 1,000 or 5,000 acres. We're now rapidly increasing the number of larger prescribed fires in an effort to try to get more accomplished across the board. And again, beneficial fires, we call it, ranges everything from cultural fire to better management of natural ignitions, to training, to workshops. We're going to try to do a better job in the spring of increasing our outreach to make people aware of all the different types of prescribed fire and managed fire, beneficial fire that's happening across the landscape. We're making, we think, good progress in educating the public and key stakeholders on the benefits of beneficial fire. It has been a tough sell in many communities, but I think the more effective we become across the board, certainly Don here, as he mentioned, has been a huge part of that effort, as has Len Nielsen, who's here from CAL FIRE, who co-chairs our committee. We've got some great leaders in this space that understand that we've got to do this right if the public is going to come to accept beneficial fire in the years ahead. On the economic and management side, this is not something that gets a lot of attention, but we are trying to work harder internally to align the efforts of forest management, wildfire resilience with related efforts at the state and federal efforts, working closely with the folks that are working on 30 by 30, working closely with ARB on the scoping plan, working with CAL FIRE on a variety of interagency efforts to make sure that we get out of our silos and we try to work collaboratively across the board to get things done. And then finally, in the innovation space, this is probably where the task force itself is making the biggest impact, working on a series of regional resource kits that help local communities get where they need to go quicker and faster, and quicker and faster by taking advantage of some of the great new tools that we have available from our scientists. And in particular, as you can see from our next slide, we've gone around to each of the regions, as you know, and we've unveiled a series of regional profiles and a series of regional resource kits that include all the metrics, all the data sets, all the scientific information that folks can take advantage of to scale up their efforts. We're long past the day where if you're a collaborative or you're a local leader, you need to spend often tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to go find consultants who can help you figure out what is the health of your forest? What are our priority areas? How do you plan and prioritize? How do you monitor? Our goal through these regional resource kits is to give regional entities the tools they need from day one to scale up and to have it all in one place, the tools that are needed to plan and prioritize, track progress, evaluate benefits, et cetera. That's going to continue to be a high priority in this next year. As you can see from our next slide, we're soon going to be unveiling a series of draft metrics that folks can use to better evaluate the benefits of their project, not just in terms of acres treated, but in terms of improving the resilience of communities, achieving carbon storage benefits, biodiversity benefits, water benefits, working really hard to develop a dashboard of benefits that folks can use to help showcase all the benefits of projects that are happening across the board. Together with that, we're continuing to work with our partners at the Forest Service and others on a decision support tool called Planscape that we can help put in the hands of local managers to help them more easily plan and prioritize projects. That hopefully the next phase of that will be unveiled this spring. And then Alan Talhelm, who's here from CAL FIRE, has been overseeing a tremendous effort on our tracking system. We've received hundreds of thousands of hits on this tracking system because for the first time you can go on and you can see where the federal projects are, where the state projects are, where the local projects are, tribal projects, all in the same area. We're adding utility projects, we're adding private projects, we're adding Caltrans projects. The original intent of this tool was to help assess our progress towards the 1 million acre target, but as time goes by, the most lasting benefit is to help regional and local leaders understand the huge variety of projects that are happening in their area so they can better coordinate and align those projects to try to meet our various goals. And together with that, we're slowly but surely moving forward towards regional investment strategies. These are strategies where CAL FIRE and the Forest Service are transitioning from funding individual projects to funding big bundles of projects that are led by resilience plans. We think that's going to be really important to scale up to meet the challenge in front of us, to try to work in close partnership with regions to work to collectively get their needs done rather than funding and making progress on an individual project by project basis. These are just 3 of the CAL FIRE pilot grants that are underway, one in the North Coast, one in El Dorado, and one in Southern California. These are all areas where agencies have combined their funding to try to help provide block grants to local agencies to get where they need to be. Forest Service is doing something similar under their wildfire crisis strategy, where they have identified 6 priority areas in the state that are getting tens of millions of dollars to advance. So again, a big shift away from the original approach of funding individual projects to funding regional plans and priorities. And again, back on the money situation, there's a tremendous amount of money that's still flowing through the system. A key priority of the task force in the next year or 2 is to try to better align and coordinate that funding. This just gives you a flavor of the amounts of money that were flowing in 2023. The state has invested nearly $700 million in this last fiscal year in various projects across the state. The Forest Service money is quite staggering, actually. $1.5 billion in Region 5. It's been hard to get a handle on federal spending because it's It's spent through so many different categories, but we hope over the next year or two to work harder to better align state and federal money. Interior money is also increasingly becoming available. Interior just announced a $12 million appropriation. BLM is continuing to invest, and so is NRCS. So you can look for the task force in the next year to spend quite a bit more time, particularly as budgets begin to shrink on the state side and we have some fiscal challenges on the federal side, to make sure that we're cost effectively spending state and federal money and aligning that money as much as we can. And then finally, we're transitioning, now that it's been 3 years under our action plan, to developing an update of that plan. We've established a core committee and a group of agencies and stakeholders to help guide that effort. It's going to be led by a synthesis that's put together by our independent science group to give us a better understanding of what we've learned since the action plan was put together. We've had the benefit of a number of pilot programs throughout the state, pilots on liability, pilots on prescribed fire, pilots on fuel breaks. It's time to pull all that information together and find out what it is that we've learned over the last several years on the effectiveness of projects across the board. So we're going to lead with a science synthesis. We're also going to update the joint strategies that I've talked about, everything from prescribed fire to reforestation to state lands, to make sure that the agencies are aligned. We're going to continue to work on our regional profiles and our regional resource kits to make sure that each region in the state has the tools that they need. We're going to do a new set of modeling, and this is a first attempt at this ever in the state, where we're having a team of consultants look at various combinations, both statewide and regional, of prescribed fire, thinning, reforestation, and looking at the various benefits and cost of those, so that our budget request and our project request have a much stronger grounding than they've ever had before. And then finally, we're also going to be looking at a new set of regulatory streamlining actions that we want to put in place to try to accelerate our work. We're working with each of our work groups to ask them tough questions about how their processes could be streamlined so that we can accelerate work across the state. And then finally, I just wanted to take a minute also to talk about some of the trends that are happening on the ground that we hope to bottle and capture as part of the action plan update. As I said before, we're rapidly transitioning from an old traditional approach of single agency, single purpose projects, a CAL FIRE fuel break, a Forest Service timber sale, et cetera, towards collaborative interagency regional plans. We hope to accelerate that effort. We're convinced that we're not going to get a handle on the wildfire crisis unless we scale up. And so we're hoping that our various tools and our action plan update will accelerate that. Projects themselves are transitioning from hundreds of acres to thousands of acres. And again, we hope to help you all with NEPA, CEQA permitting to try to figure out how we can scale up in a way that works for all of you. We're also, in terms of funding, shifting, as I said before, from project-specific funding to putting together blocks of funding for collections of projects so that you can all scale up. And then on the science end, this is really where the regional resource kits come in, to try to give you the tools so you don't have to scramble at the regional level to figure out, again, the condition of your forest, what the priority areas are. We're going to continue to work on our regional resource kits so that your plans can be based on the best available science and some of these new exciting tools that we have. That in turn will allow us to be much more outcome-based across the board. We've heard a lot from you that it is important to track the acres treated, but it's equally important to try to shift towards more of an outcome-based system where we're tracking how well we're doing in protecting communities, how we're improving biodiversity, how we're improving water, how we're increasing our efforts to store carbon across the board. So we're going to be spending a lot of time over the next year or two trying to refine these kits to give you the tools you need to better both prioritize your projects and explain the benefits. And then finally, I would say there's been a sea change towards really a decades-long focus on suppressing fire, as many of you know, and working within our sort of current parameters versus recognizing that we have a long history, a historic culture in this state of using, of having fire adapted communities and systems. And so I think you're going to see a much greater emphasis on getting more fire on the ground on the one hand, looking back, and then looking forward, much more of an emphasis of building climate into everything we do. So what you're going to see in the action plan update is, again, for the first time, some new modeling efforts that will help you at the local level incorporate climate change into everything you do, from changing the way you do reforestation to new ways of doing thinning and prescribed fire. Looking ahead to 2024, we've got 4 meetings scheduled right now. There may be some adjustments in this as we deal with some of our budget issues, but for now, anyway, we're planning on 2 regional meetings, one in Southern California, one in the Sierra Nevada, 2 meetings back here. We continue to believe it's important to have these meetings both at the Sacramento level to align the work of the agencies and then to get out to the regions to hear directly from regional leaders on their priorities and their key issues. So stay tuned. Again, go to our website if you want more information on everything we're doing. We spent a lot of time building this site to give you all the tools and all the information you need to better plan, prioritize, and work together in getting us where we need to be. Thank you.
Patrick, thank you. That was quite a comprehensive report on all that we're doing and working to do. And I would just reemphasize the website as really the portal for information. And I am really proud that we have that tracker that's tracking the 99 actions. And so if anybody's watching today or here today and wants to understand something at more in depth than Patrick was able to share, please reach out to Patrick and his team. Our goal with this task force is to really support the leadership across the state in this work. And we want everybody to be able to plug in, understand what's happening at the task force, but be able to plug in as well. So big thanks for that.